that's great. That's great. So I'm relying on love to carry me forward.
Well, without love, we wouldn't be anything. So we will take the love and go with it.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah,
I've been nervous, so I know that the relation will carry it.
yeah.
So it's really the chance to say things that clients might like to hear.
Okay,
And I thought maybe we could start off with using the word trauma in a way that people can relate to it.
okay. Trauma, trauma is such an interesting word because it's become a go-to word. It's used for, it gets confusing because there's so many parts of trauma. And when we think about trauma, we're really coming into more toxic type of stress, something that has really interrupted a part of normal development. So, it could be a medical trauma. It could be um, a whole list of things from postpartum depression to um, a death of a parent during pregnancy. There's lots of reasons that we bring on this higher stress, which we see more as toxic stress than we do as normal stress coming in. And when we're looking at developmental trauma, we want to back up and we go, okay, this is working in the dark. Most people don't have any clue for sure what happened. What we do is we get a result. And either that's a behavior or an action we're taking, usually a behavior, that we can tell this is supporting safety, where we think that it isn't. It's coming in to support that safety, to try to keep the person safe. They develop the behavior. So that kind of trauma, toxic trauma, is really important. There's also event trauma, sometimes called shock trauma. It's got multiple names too. But in that type of trauma, there's a memory before, like you have an autobiographical memory. It's more explicit memory coming in. And then there's an event, and that event can disrupt your whole life until you get treatment for it. But once you get treatment, you come back and you kind of bridge from where you left off to where you are now, and you move on with life. But with the developmental trauma, there's no bridge. We don't know what's before because we can't see what's before. It's more of an implicit memory coming into play. And implicit is just little bursts, or it's somatic, which means the body is holding the memory. And the body doesn't forget anything. It holds on to every memory, everything that happened to us.
Yeah, I think for myself, Steve, I didn't know that I had developmental trauma, but I just knew I was very shy and wooden. And it took me a while to discover that that I was wooden and frozen.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah, we call that, that freeze, that wooden feeling, is the reason you don't notice it is because I don't like this word, but the word normal, this wooden is normal for you. You wouldn't notice that it's different. You wouldn't notice
Mm,
that freeze is different because you've been living with it all your life. So this
mm,
is just how you operate. It's not until someone starts coming in and bringing in those little layers of regulation that you begin to change, because you begin to thaw. If it's like an ice
yeah.
freeze, you begin to thaw, which is, can be a difficult time, but also a blessed time. But you're really coming back into a new normal. So you're going from this normal to a new normal.
Yeah. 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 So that's kind of leading into that healing is difficult.
Healing is, it's interesting. It's difficult in the manner that it can bring in memories and sensations and body memories that sometimes feel very uncomfortable. Usually it's only about, 48, 70, 72 hours, 2 or 3 days after a session. You might feel bad because your body's trying to get back to where it was before. It has a place, a marker there. We call it a set point. And that set point is where your body always wants to go back to. So if you're wooden and you're frozen, it always wants to be there. It's going, what are you doing? You are not safe over there. Even though we know you're moving towards safety, a much greater safety than you've ever experienced. She's pulling you back, saying, no, you're right here. So the difficult part is that we're microdosing, taking very small bits and pieces happen each session, and we begin to formulate these layers that weren't there, or if they are there, they were incomplete. So we're coming in and we're working on these layers, and they're just tiny, very delicate work. And so we want to be sure we're not rushing through it. We allow time for the body to go, oh, I don't need to be afraid because we're moving over here. I can now breathe, and I can allow myself to take a few steps. And I always say it's 2 steps forward and 1 step backwards.
Yeah.
Is the healing process.
So so that's kind of using the word trauma in a way that clients can relate to it. And because like me, most people think that they haven't experienced trauma, but they don't feel like they operate so well in the world.
Well, none of us want to feel like we're not perfect. If we're perfect, people will like us. People will have friends, we'll be smart, we'll be pretty, we'll have all those good things going if we're perfect. So nobody wants to imagine that they're not perfect. They want to see this and go, oh yeah, maybe there's another perfect. But we really want to be perfect, because if we're not, maybe we'll get abandoned. Maybe nobody will want us. And so there's a lot of play in there that we're looking at when we look at this whole healing process.